WTIM.
Welcome into the WTIM morning show here on your information station and brought to you by People's Bank and Trust. This segment of the WTIM morning show is sponsored by the Taylorville School District, where they promote student success because they're A+. Today's good news segment features, I've got Chris Crane, got Tierra Thomason, and I've got Angel Brown as part of the Title I reading program. And, good morning to you guys, and thank you for joining us here today on the show.
Good morning.
And talk to me a little bit, because we had you about a year ago, I guess. I can't believe it's already almost been a year, but if you guys would, maybe let's give some introductions and tell us a little bit about yourselves. I guess we'll start with Chris here in the corner. Chris, what can you tell us about Title I reading and your involvement?
I'm actually a third and fourth grade reading specialist at Memorial. I've been here 10 years. This is my 10th year. And we service kids who are in need of extra reading services to get them back to their grade level.
Okay, so the 10th year for you, third and fourth grade. Tierra, what about yourself?
I am a kindergarten first and second grade reading specialist over at North. This is my second year as a reading interventionist, but I was a classroom teacher prior to, so I've been in education for a hot minute.
Okay, so this is not
Right.
maybe same for almost
all of us.
you. Yeah.
Yes.
And Angel, what about yourself?
I also teach at the kindergarten, first and second grade building, North School. And I think I have been here about 15 years now, I think. It's been a while.
About 15 years. It's been a while, she says. 15 years. 10th year for you, Chris, and then Tierra, the second year, but obviously education through and through.
Mhm.
Yep.
What about the background then in terms of coming to this position? Starting with you, Chris.
I actually started in Indiana as a first grade reading recovery teacher, and then I moved into second grade. So this is actually my 28th year of teaching. So came over to Illinois 10 years ago after getting married.
Okay.
So.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that you moved from Indiana to Illinois. The taxes maybe hurt a little worse.
Not too bad.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good deal for Chris
Yeah.
Crane in her 10th year as a reading specialist. Tierra, what's the background for you coming to this?
I started as, kindergarten, third grade, second grade. I've taught all of those grade levels. I am in my 13th year, I believe, in education. So 11 years in the classroom and then my second year outside of it.
Okay. And then for you, Angel.
I've been teaching since 2001, and I have taught a variety of places. I have a library certificate, so I started out teaching library skills, and I taught at a bilingual school, and then I've taught at U.S. Embassy schools overseas, and then I came back to Illinois and started teaching here. So I've moved around the country a bit, and then I've moved out of the country a bit and come back. So.
Well, I thought I was sorry for you, Chris. I'm a little more sorry for you over there, Angel, with that being the case. Introduction-wise, I think we've got at least a good idea of the three that are sitting in front of us here today, but there is a very quality reason, a good reason that we brought you in here today. What might that be? Who can tell me about the event that we have coming up?
Well, I think I've been chosen. We are having a Title I drive-through night. It's very similar to what we had last year. People can drive through. We have little goodie bags. There's a book. There's some reading activities, some other fun things in there, just to spur on the reading, especially with the events coming up where kids will have time off during Thanksgiving and their Christmas breaks, and to provide a little reading items to help kids interact with their parents or interact with siblings at home.
Okay, so kind of like a little reading care package
Yes,
almost that you just drive through and you kind of pick up. And what does that require of me? Do I need to be a student from kindergarten through fourth grade? What's the requirements behind it maybe?
You have to be a kindergarten through fourth grade student here in Taylorville. And I think that's really about it.
That's not too bad.
That's not too bad. Well, you have to have the parent bring you through in a car, but it's just at North School, 5 to 6 p.m. and we'll all be there handing out the goodie bags.
Okay. Now, I'm sure we've probably been working on putting them together a little bit. You mentioned some of the materials that will be in there, but is there anything in specific that you can tell me about that when we roll through, we'll be able to pick up?
So we themed it based on fall and Thanksgiving, being thankful. There's a few little art projects. We have a bookmark, a few snacks, and a wonderful little book for all the students to read.
Okay. So thankfulness, kind of a fall mix in there. With that being the case, now, are these materials that I need to bring back to you guys, or is this something that I take home and I hold on to?
These are materials that the kids can keep, so they are theirs to enjoy in the future. The book specifically is one that we know that kids enjoy, so it's one that could be read over and over again.
Okay. And this isn't the only event that you guys do, correct? You do 2 in a year? Okay,
Correct.
so this being kind of your drive-through night, and then the other event is more like a sit down and kind of meet with everybody, or how does your other event go typically?
Typically, that's one that people show up to. It sometimes is a sit-down event. It's sometimes one that there might be centers that parents go to for different activities. That one is usually in the spring. Getting so close to Christmas and Thanksgiving and all of those activities, we wanted something easy for parents to do that wouldn't take too much out of their time, especially with all the sports going on at the moment too. So this way, we still have a family event, but it doesn't take too much time out. And then in the spring, we have one that is more interactive.
Okay. With that being the case, so obviously you guys have them in the classroom, we'll call it. I know maybe it's not your typical classroom, but you have them in the classroom. You only have them for a certain amount of time. So is this almost more important for the parents than it is for the kids? Or how do you kind of look at that? Because the continuation of learning has to continue outside of the classroom. Is that kind of the main goal with this, that, hey, we're sending you home with stuff and we're keeping up with what we've already done here earlier in the day too?
Yes, getting parents involved is crucial to any child's education. Reading is the most important thing that they can learn, and we need the parents' backing for this. We can only do so much in the time that we're given in our day, and we try our very hardest, but it does help at home as well.
Well, because you're trying to bring them back up to speed almost, right?
Yes.
Like you're let's say they're at kindergarten level and we need them at second grade level.
Right.
So you kind of need that time at home on top of it too. Angel, I apologize if you had an answer on top of that. No? Okay.
It is called authentic learning. What it means is to bring what they're learning in the classroom, outside of the classroom, into their real life, to show it helps the kids understand that there's a connection. We don't only do this inside our classroom. It's stuff that you're going to need to use the grocery store, to go into any kind of building, to read signs. So there is a rationale behind all of this. It's not just a free giveaway. It's to connect learning from school to home. And the theory is, behind all of this is called authentic learning, where you connect the outside world into what we're doing in the classroom to make it a more real experience for the students.
Okay. And obviously you would think, you look around and there's plenty to read and plenty to see, but if you're not at that level that you need to be,
Correct.
then you aren't really seeing it or reading it correctly, maybe. So this is all involved with the Title I reading program. With that being the case, can you tell us just a little bit about what is the program? Like, what are we doing on a day-to-day basis when we do have them for those short stints of time?
Well, the Title I reading program is a federally funded program. And when we pull the students, or even sometimes we push in, we do some word work, help the kids learn what those patterns are. We do some practice reading. We work on specific skills through the curriculum. We support what the teachers are doing in the classroom and try to push those skills a little bit and review skills that maybe they have missed.
Okay. Now, is this a teacher recommended thing? So does a teacher or a staff member kind of say, hey, Tierre, hey, Chris, hey, Angel, I don't know if they're reading where they should be. Is that something that is recommended to you guys, or do you kind of get to see that in the classroom? How does that go?
It can be. We also test at the beginning of the year to see how fluent their reading is at that point in time. And then we find the ones that might be struggling a little bit and then start pulling them.
Okay. Is that something that, hey, here's a book. We know it's this grade level and read it aloud and let's just see where you're at. Is that basically how that would go? Or is that a little more in-depth of the process?
At the second, third, and fourth grade levels, they do actually read passages, and their lexile is given. And a lexile would just tell us what grade level that they are at currently, and how they answer questions to a passage. Not just how many words can they read, but also how can they answer questions that they've read. So we judge that. We look at those scores. We look at vocabulary type scores. We look at decoding. It's a whole package that we have to look at. And we also take teacher input as well.
Okay. Well, I hadn't really thought about that until you mentioned that with okay, it's one thing to just read something out loud, but it's a totally different thing to understand what you just read. Right. So it's part of it is also just making sure that we're connecting the dots and making sure that, hey, you can read it, but did you know that the dog was blue or whatever the case might be? Did you actually keep that in mind? Okay. So with the title program, we have got Chris Crane, we have got Tierra Thomason, and we have got Angel Brown joining us here on the show as part of our Taylorville School District Good News segment. It's typically the first Thursday of every month. We had to move it up just a little bit because of their event coming up Wednesday, November 5th from 5 to 6 p.m. at North School. They're having a drive-through night with a fall kind of Thanksgiving-themed goodie bag to give away. We'll come back. We'll talk more with Chris and Angel and Tierra when we return. You're listening to WTIM, your information station.
WTIM. Your information station. WTIM.
And we're back with the WTIM Morning Show here on your information station and brought to you by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville. This segment of the WTIM Morning Show is sponsored by the Taylorville School District, where they promote student success because they're A+. Today's Good News segment, it features Chris Crane, it features Tierra Thomason, and Angel Brown, all with the Title I reading program. We were talking about their event coming up. We'll double down on that in just a little bit. But I'm wondering kind of the split between the classrooms, because the two of you had mentioned kindergarten through second grade, and then for Chris, third through fourth grade. So obviously we need to be working together and collaborating, I'm sure. But what is kind of the difference between the two, starting with kindergarten through second grade, and then we'll work our way over to Chris?
So with kindergarten especially, we really focus on letter sounds and letter naming, making sure they have a good understanding of the alphabet before we can move into being able to read or decode the words so that we can work on their fluency.
Okay, and we were talking in the break, kind of building a solid base so that we can continue to build on top of. What does that look like in terms of, you've got a kindergartner fresh in the classroom, maybe we give them a little screening or a reading to do, but how do we maybe kind of put pieces together about what they need and maybe what they don't need?
Well, we try to connect it to their world. So like if we are working on a specific letter, the W, well, we think of things outside of school that you can think of for W, as well as like animals and Walmart and what you might see outside, a walrus or something, just to animals, food, and shopping tend to be a good segue for kids because it gets them excited about learning. We focus on the different letters, and then we work into how do you hear the sounds in each of those words? If you said the word dog, do you hear the sounds? Dog. If you can't hear those sounds, you won't be able to spell that. And it will make it more difficult when you try to decode that word if you can't hear each sound. So we work a lot on those finite skills so that they can move on into sight words and reading more fluently in first grade. First grade through fourth grade, we do test their automaticity in reading a passage. We time it for 1 minute and see how long and see how many words that they can read accurately and how many mistakes they have. And that helps us judge where they might be in the learning pattern.
Okay. So one thing you mentioned there, the focus on the letters, then how do you hear the sound? And then that's where decoding comes into it, because if I can't hear the sounds properly, I'm probably not going to spell them either.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else that you two can tell us about the kindergarten through second grade levels before we transition as students would to Chris?
In second grade, we start focusing a lot on comprehension as well. I mean, we talk about comprehension in first and kindergarten, but we really try to start transitioning some of those skills into what they're going to need in third grade. That way, when they transfer over to the third grade, they're prepared. We're always building on the knowledge that they have and trying to push them into a greater knowledge that will help them succeed in future.
Okay. And then that brings us to Chris. And then as you start to pick them up after second grade, the focus being on comprehension, or at least trying to bolster it, then they come to you in third and fourth grade. What can you tell us?
And in third and fourth, I have a multitude of areas of need, because sometimes they just haven't met those goals from second grade and on. So we're still working on decoding and learning how to fluently read. But we also have to move on, because in third grade, they start doing statewide testing, which is IAR testing. And so it's very important to get them to go from learning to read to reading to learn. So in science and social studies, they need to be able to read fluently and understand fluently in order to answer those questions in harder texts. So in subjects.
This was one of those deals today where it's like, I just didn't think about it really. Like I truly didn't, with the authentic learning, kind of connecting the classroom to the outer world, and also just comprehension. That's doesn't matter if you can read if you don't comprehend it. So
right.
I definitely appreciate that. Sorry, Chris.
Oh, no, that's all right. Yeah, I just, we have a big job to do, and that's to get them ready. Then once they leave fourth grade, they have to be ready for junior high, and we know what junior high can be like for all of them, and we don't want it to be hard on them. We want to make sure they're ready. So
yeah,
it's a lot to.
Well, I'm sure you guys do a fantastic job in doing so. And again, we would just like to highlight the Title I drive-through night, Wednesday, November 5th from 5 to 6 p.m. at North School. It's a drive-through deal. Come get a little goodie bag of materials and more for kindergarten through fourth grade students in Taylorville. Am I correct in that?
Absolutely.
Beautiful. Well, thank you guys for joining us here today.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Look forward to it.
Chris Crane, Tier Thomason, and Angel Brown, all Title I reading specialists with the Taylorville School District, as part of our Taylorville School District Good News segment, the first Thursday of every month, or sometimes on Monday when we've got an event on Wednesday. You're listening to WTIM, your information station.